So, hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you feeling today?
Good.
Good. Excited? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. Let me see. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm feeling excited, and I'm a little nervous also. So, yeah. Let's see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. First of all, if you want to interrupt, ask something, clarify questions, whatever, please go ahead. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. So today, I'm here to present an idea of a hero. And let's find out who amongst us may become heroes and how. You guys want to know that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Well, let me introduce you to two heroes here. These are Jo Berry and Patrick McGee. Jo Berry was the daughter of Sir Anthony Berry. Is this man here? He had 6 children. One of them was Joe, and he was a member of Parliament in the UK. He was a congressman in the UK in the times of Margaret Thatcher. He was a member of the Conservative Party, and Sir Anthony Berry and Joe, they had a very close relationship. The other person of our story here is Patrick McGee. Patrick McGee, he was born in Belfast in Northern Ireland, which is a part of Ireland that belongs to the UK. And at the age of 19, he joined the IRA. You guys know what the IRA is? Yeah? You do? It's the Irish Revolutionary Army. So it started as an army to liberate Ireland against the British, and then it transformed into what for some was a terrorist group, for others again was a liberation army. So Patrick, he grew up in the middle of violence, in the middle of repression, so watching his people being killed and seeing all of that. As I said, at the age of 19, he joined the IRA, and a few years later, he became one of the best experts in bombs within the organization. Now we fast forward to October 1984 at the Grand Hotel in Brighton. Brighton is a city in England that it's not far from London. It's south of England by the coast, and at that time in October 1984, the Conservative Party in the UK was having a conference. So all the leaders of the party, they were meeting there. Amongst them, it was Margaret Thatcher. She was the prime minister at the time. So that was the enemy for the IRA and for Patrick. Now Patrick, he being an expert in bombs, he fabricated one. He placed the bomb at the hotel, and he detonated the bomb late at night. You can see here the part of the building collapsing, and Margaret Thatcher, she saved her life by a hair. It was almost a miracle. She did, but 5 people died on that blast, and amongst those 5 people, one of them was Sir Anthony Berry, so the father of Jo Berry. Now, Patrick, he got caught, he was tried, and he was sentenced to 8 life terms in prison. So he went to prison, and a few years later, a new British government was in negotiations for peace for Northern Ireland. You probably know about the peace process there, and as part of that peace process, there was something that we called the Good Friday Agreements, because they reached those agreements on a Good Friday. And by virtue of those agreements, a number of IRA members that were convicted, they were released from prison. And Patrick, he was released from prison at that time. That was 14 years after he had gone into prison. So you can imagine at the time, Jo, she started reliving everything that she felt. One important thing is that when it happened in 1984, it was a great nonsense for her. She couldn't, grasp it, make sense of it, but she made a commitment to herself, and that commitment to herself was that she was going to get something positive out of it. She didn't know what it was, but she said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get something positive out of this situation. Now, for that time, for all those 16 years, she had been making some approaches. She had been traveling to Northern Ireland, meeting with people linked to the IRA, trying to understand what had happened and why it happened. And when Patrick got out of prison, she asked him for a meeting. She said, I want to meet you. She wanted to ask him why he had done that. And later he will say he didn't really know why he said yes, but he said yes, let's meet. So they met one evening in Dublin in the year 2000, late year 2000, and they spoke for about 3 hours on that day. She asked him why, and he gave her for quite some time just the political discourse, the explanation on why they had to do that and why they felt they were being oppressed. Their people were being killed. He felt that he had to do that, and it was like an act of war. So for him, her father, it was a casualty. It was a casualty of war. He was sorry in a way that she lost her father, but he said, I had to do this, and given the circumstances, I still believe in the cause. I would do it again. The thing is that she was listening to him, and she was thinking, okay, this is probably it. I'm getting the discourse, the political explanation and justification, and this is about the end of this road, to try to make some sense of it. But then after about an hour and a half that she was just listening to him, for a brief moment his armor came down, and Patrick, he disarmed for a second, and he asked her, I want to listen about your grief, about your anger. I want you to tell me you're angry with me and how you felt that day and what was going through you, what were your emotions on that day. And at that precise moment, a new thing started, a new relationship started, because she knew that they had connected at a human level. It was not anymore that political justification. It was human to human connection. And indeed, it was a journey that started that day in December 2000 and then continues up to today. They have met more than 100 times, many times in public, to share this story with many people. They go to zones in conflict to try to help others. And I had the privilege of sharing a few days with them about 6 years ago in a place in England, a place called Schumacher College. It's a wonderful institution. So I went there for a program on forgiveness and reconciliation. And they were the teachers. They were co-directing the course, and they were the teachers. Now, I hadn't done any research before going there, so little I know what I was going to witness. I wasn't expecting at all what happened there. And the first evening was something truly amazing that I want to share with you. We were about 10, 12 students in the program, and the first evening we shared an auditorium very much like this one, this size, with the people from the town where Schumacher College is located. So we came into the auditorium, and then Joe and Patrick, they came in, they sat in 2 chairs next to each other, and they started telling us their story, everything that I told you. And while they were sharing it with us, they were building that story, because every time they met and they shared it, they felt different emotions and they felt different things. And by the time, because this is 2012, by the time their friendship was growing and being built, then for a few days after that, we did work on different dynamics and on different things, but we were really, really impressed. And I haven't, that moment has been with me ever since, and I'm using that still to this day to kind of to look at my own emotions, to look at my own judgment, to look at my own relationship with others, and to use it as a mirror of what I want to become, a mirror of what I want the world to be, and the kind of world that I want to help build. And it's a world where this kind of forgiveness exists, and we have it within us, and we can offer it to others. Doesn't that look like a world of regeneration to you? It does sound something like it to me. So what I'm proposing today is to do a little exercise and try to start building that world of regeneration right here and now. So are you up for it? You guys want to do a small exercise? Yeah? To wake up? Okay. So this is going to be an easy one, about a minute. Not going to be too complicated. And we're going to do it in pairs. So look for someone sitting close to you. Team up, pair up. Okay. And this is arm wrestling. You guys know arm wrestling? Yeah? Everybody knows?
Oh, how am I going to do this?
Shall I make a demo, Cynthia? So, very simple. Just
Go to the...
yeah. So we have an imaginary table here on our elbows, and we have to get the other person's hand to touch the table, right? Very much like this. Okay, so you're now in pairs. You have to get, every time you get the other person's hand to touch the imaginary table, you get 1 point. Okay?
Got it.
You have 10 seconds to get the max amount of points that you can. Go. 10 seconds. Okay, time's up. Time's up. Time's up. Time's up. Okay. I know you're enjoying, and some people got it. Okay. So, how many? Zero. Zero. Oh, you guys are both strong. Okay. How many?
7.
7.
7, you won 7 times?
No. We touched the table 7 times. It doesn't matter who.
How many? 0. 22. We have a winner there.
22.
Over there, 5. Magda. Okay. Okay. Let's see if it was a disaster. Let's see about that. So, why do we have 0 or 22? Why do you think that happened? Someone.
Cynthia let me win a couple times.
She let you win a couple of times.
She didn't even force my
Okay, and what is winning? Because I didn't say any, I didn't say anything about winning, did I?
But that's how it goes.
Ah, oh, so you assumed. Okay, okay. So the instructions of the game, and this is important, were to get the maximum number of points you could. Not to get more points than the other person. I didn't say anything about that. Nothing about winning. And well, yeah, it is a trick, and it is not a trick, because in many ways that's how the world works. If we go to Patrick and Joe before, what do we want? Do we want to, as I take this from Cynthia, she always says, I don't want to be right, I want to be happy. And in this case, it works kind of similar. And what it tells us is about the mindset that we typically have, which is a competitive mindset. We have that wired up naturally. We don't have a collaborative mindset. And in many cases, maybe not always, but in many cases, that collaborative mindset is going to get us more win and more happiness than the competitive. We are used to compete with other people and with ourselves. Probably our fiercest competitor is each one of us. So how do we go from that competitive mindset into more of a collaborative mindset? And also, how do we go for things like listening to the instructions, or to life instructions correctly? Because sometimes we don't. We assume. You said that right. We assume. So there are different tools to do that, and I come with a proposal here tonight. And that proposal, it's a really cutting-edge technology called listening. So we're going to talk about listening. And when we're trying to engage in communication, and again, remember what these two heroes did was communicate. It's still communicating. So keep that on the back of your minds. We're talking about true communication between people. When we're trying to engage, there's the talking part and there's the listening part. And typically, what we want to do, I want to get my point across. I want to be persuasive. I want to win an argument. I want to give advice. And for that, I have to, the other person is talking to me. Vanessa is saying, this happened today, that happened today, and I'm processing what she's saying, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm trying to put it through my filter so that I can give her advice. I'm not really listening. I'm very busy up here, very busy. So how do I change the focus from myself and talking into the other person and listening? This is something we're not very used to do. But before I tell you a few tricks about it, I want to know into why is it important to listen. So a few points here, because it's going to help us understand. If we're trying to engage in that communication with the other person, maybe, as I said, maybe I'm trying to give you advice, or try to have a meaningful relationship. I need to understand what's inside you, what are your feelings, what is it that you're trying to convey to me, not just with words. What really the message is, which sometimes it's not what it's being said, but other things. And for that, I need to understand. So I need to be fully focused on listening. There's other ways, not just listening, to do that. I can assume, how you're feeling, how your day was, or maybe you're telling me a story about how you're being treated at work, and I relate to something that happened to me, and I assume it's the same thing. But what happens is, when I assume, yeah, at least in my case, when I assume something about myself, most of the time I'm wrong about myself. Just imagine trying to assume something about you. No, it doesn't really work. But, you know, the second reason is because it creates connection. And that connection is going to build rapport, is going to build bridges between me and the people, the person I'm trying to engage with. It's going to show the other person that I care. And the other person is going to feel that I care. We all like to feel that somebody cares about us. We love that. Well, it works both ways. The third reason is that it generates empathy. So when I manage to understand what's inside of you, when I'm building those bridges and I manage to connect, what I'm doing is I'm helping you to create empathy for me. So I'm helping you to understand me so that, you know, later I can also talk. But first I have to listen. I have to create this. It's a process. Now, how do we do that? How do we do that process? Well, what I'm bringing here tonight are some tips that have been researched, developed, tested by science, by Harvard particularly, and other universities, and there are many others. And these are, you know, you can find them explained in different ways and expanded. So I'm gonna be brief with. I'm trying to be brief with this, but bring a few of those tips. The first one is full undivided attention. So that sounds good, right? What do you think that is? Anybody? What is that for you? Put the phone down for a second. Yes.
Really pay attention when the person saying.
Make eye contact.
Be present, like without thinking.
Be present. Mm-hmm. Pay attention. Yeah. Because if Cynthia is telling me, like, how was your day today?
I spoke with my sister.
Oh, sister. Oh, I have a sister too. You know. It's like, do you feel you have my full undivided attention there, or any attention at all? No, right? Yeah. So we need to do that. All the things you mentioned, they are great examples. Even the cell phone, that's one of the first one that comes to mind, because, you know, now we used to doing this while we're trying to listen. We can't do that. I mean, we're not that good. We need to do that to create the space. So the first thing is, let's create the space for the conversation. Let's create the space for the listening. Then, once we've done that, empathy. Now, this is a tricky one, empathy, because it's a very nice word, but how do I create empathy? In this context, when someone is telling me something and I already managed to give that person my full undivided attention, a couple of things may happen. That person starts, you know, sharing with me, and as I said before, I start processing what the person is telling me, and my mind starts working on it, and I start filtering it through my own experiences, and I'm really, at that point, I'm no longer listening. And what happens is I start to judge what the person is saying, and as soon as I start to judge, the thing that comes next is advice. So you tell me whatever it is, I judge, I give you advice. I'm not listening. I'm selling again. I'm selling my book, and I'm not with you. So the way to generate empathy is to listen without judgment. Just listen. Just try to understand. You don't have to agree. By no means. You know, you may, because you don't know really anything about what the person is saying. You don't know if it's their story, it's their moment. You don't know if it's true, if it is not true, if it's objective, if it's subjective. You don't know nothing. But you can try to understand and to get what is coming from the person and not judge it. And again, you don't need to feel like you are conceding anything, because you don't have to agree, but you have to acknowledge simply. Then another very important thing is, once we got that far, and that's pretty far, and let me tell you something, you start feeling yourself really good when you get that far. Then it comes about when you reflect the feelings on the other person. So whatever the person is telling you, you try to give some feedback. But again, some feedback that is not your feedback, that it's their feedback. So, say, again, we're having that conversation about work, where Vanessa is telling me, I did this and that, and nobody's giving me credit for it. I'm so good, but they don't see it. And at that point, I can just say, so you're feeling frustrated, right? And I'm trying to give back their own feelings. The feelings that I'm getting from them, I'm trying to reflect them back. And then the person probably, if that's the way they're feeling, they say, yes, yeah, you get me, you understand me. That's going to open them up even more. Or maybe they'll say, well, it's not exactly that, it's these and these and these. And they'll explain. And then again, I go back and I reflect back, just to make sure I'm getting it. And that builds, little by little, it does build the process. Okay? So, that was Harvard, right? And that's used in negotiation, it's used in therapy, it's used in conflict resolution, it's used in many fields. But if we don't need to go to Harvard, if we go way back, some ancient wisdom, I found very interesting that this is the Chinese character for listen. Now, if we probably the explanation is it's in white, so we can't really see it, but I'll tell you. This red part here, this is an ear. This is the Chinese character for ear. So we listen with the ear, and this is the character for the eye, because we also listen with the eyes. We don't listen just to the words. We have to listen to the non-verbal communication, which is a huge part of the communication. And with the eyes, as I said before, we have to place our undivided attention on what we're hearing with the ears and the eyes, and we have to place that undivided attention on the heart. This is the character for the heart. So, that saying that we have to listen to our heart, we have to listen with our heart. We have to use our heart to listen. And then when we do all those things and we're trying to listen to the emotions, that's when we can start really to connect. And that's when things like somebody who put a bomb and killed your father disarms and starts opening up. And a huge, amazing process can start from something as simple as listening. Now, why is it so difficult? Because, okay, is it easy for someone here? Because if you say yes, you can, and you start speaking. Not that it's easy for me, it's not either. But I like very much this drawing to explain why is it so difficult. When we want to listen to someone, one of the most important things we have to do, even before we can consider engaging in that communication, is to listen to ourselves. If I don't listen to myself, I cannot listen to someone. It's like, I cannot love others if I don't love myself. Well, works, the same way for this. Now, my head, most of the time, it's like a tank. Well, I don't know, what do you guys see in this drawing? Because Huh?
I think food within nothing. A fish.
A fish. So
Water.
water. Uh-huh.
Looks like a
Okay.
head that looks like a tank.
It could be a head, right? Okay. So let's say this is my head.
Oh.
Okay. And my head, it's most of the time it's filled with water. Water are my thoughts and my ideas and my preconceptions and everything that it's in there. And then some very important ideas, which are a few fish that I may have in there. Now, if I want to listen to someone, do you think I can listen with my head full? I can't. So I have to lower the level of water before anything can get in. So before you try to engage in some important communication or maybe an important meeting, there's something we do. We pray, which helps to lower that level. But just taking a few seconds or a few minutes and sitting with yourself in silence and try to listen to yourself. That's the first thing you have to do. Now, I do like this drawing because it explains also that this is my head and this is what happens with me, but this may as well be what is happening to the person that I want to talk to. So the person of the head of that person. So let's say this could be Luigi's head perfectly. I see it totally.
Perfect measure.
It may be full. So what do we do? How do I talk to Luigi if his head is full? And this water, it may be anger. Maybe he hasn't eaten for I don't know how long.
20 days.
Doesn't even remember. 10 days. So he's worked up and he's like this. So what do I do if I want to talk to Luigi? Feed him first. Okay, that's an option, but I don't have any food here, so I can't. I have to help him get rid of some of that water. And the way I do that is through listening, as we said before. And I have to be patient because that process, it may take a while. Now, at some point, he's gonna, cool down. And as I said, it's a process of patience. And also, at some point, that important thing is gonna come out. When we're trying to help reduce the level of noise on someone's head, I said we have to be patient because a lot of water is going to come out that is not really important, or we may think, oh, I know all about this water, it's just water, but the important thing, the fish, will come out at some point, and we have to be ready to catch that fish, right? So the beautiful thing is that listening starts a chain reaction. When I listen, I help the other person to listen to me. We saw that before. And listening is contagious. It really is. And it's really good. It feels really good. And now, taking, and we have again the picture of Joe and Patrick here. The job of the hero is to listen and to break the cycle of violence through that listening. And only someone that steps up to say, I'm going to break that cycle of violence, like Joe did, and said, you killed my father, but I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna try to step on your shoes and see where this goes. I'm not gonna retaliate. I'm not gonna pay evil with evil. I'm going to pay evil with goodness. That person is the hero. And this is an extreme situation, of course, but we all face situations every day, very small, with our family, on our jobs, at the center, where somebody does something that we don't really like. It's bothering me a little bit. And we have two options. We can, pay back sometimes with something as simple as, I'm gonna ignore. I'm just gonna ignore that person or that comment, or we can repay with something good, and that's a hero, and that pays off. Now that requires courage, humility, patience, faith, and empathy, and those are the things that you need to build up to become a hero. Now, through listening, of course, as we saw, it's a first step, and we can start doing that. But we need even more. We need to elevate ourselves even more to get to the point where we can do things like Joe did, of that magnitude. When I want to elevate myself even more, what I do, or what I think I can find a map, is on the Spirit's book and the Gospel. So I wanted to bring a couple. There's tons, and it's all over the Spirit's book and all over the Gospel. We find passages and questions that talk about this, and how to relate to others, and how to act with others. But I just wanted to bring a couple of those. One is a question 887 of the Spirit's book, because here Kardec says that Jesus taught, love even your enemies. And this is a passage that always shocked me. Like, how can I love my enemies? Because of course I see Jesus and I see his example, and he did it, but I'm not close or anything like that. So what shall I do? Because I feel the pain, and I feel the anger, and I feel, as I said, even with the small things, maybe with a comment from someone, I'm feeling that. And what it says here is that loving one's enemy means to forgive them and return good for their evil. It's a very simple image, but it's very powerful. And first, through listening, we can start doing that, and then through these kind of examples, we can see that it is possible, that it's happening here on this earth. This is just I didn't want to bring Gandhi or Mother Teresa. We all know about those. There are many people like Patrick and Joe doing this. Now I want to finish with a passage from the Gospel according to Spiritism, because there's one chapter that Kardec dedicated to prayer. He compiled a number of prayers for a number of occasions. Now, prayer is the way we connect with God, and through that connection is how we can tap into the resources that we need to become heroes, that we need to do these acts. And also, it's difficult sometimes. It is difficult for me to pray. I didn't really learn ever. So this part of the book, it's very useful. You know how many times we're very shy, most of us here. We don't want to do the opening prayer. We don't want to do the closing prayer. Well, this chapter can help us to overcome that shyness, and I'm working on that myself. So I'll share with you this prayer. It's on chapter 28, item 47. Dear God, I forgive them for the evil they caused me and they want to cause me, just as I want you to forgive me and them to forgive me for the wrongs I may have committed. If you have placed them on my path as a trial, may your will be done. Dear God, keep me from the thought of slandering them and from any malevolent desire against them. Enable me not to feel any joy for their misfortunes that may strike them, or any upset for the benefits that may be granted to them, so that my soul may not be tainted with thoughts unbefitting of a Christian. Good spirits, inspire me to forget evil and to remember the good. May neither the hatred, the rancor, nor the desire to repay evil with evil enter my heart. For hatred and revenge belong only to evil spirits, whether incarnate or discarnate. Instead, may I be ready and willing to extend a helping hand and repay their evil with good, and to come to them to their aid if I can. Thank you very much.
Very good, Juan. Yanara, everyone. So, you should do that too in Portuguese. Yeah. There you go. And soon in Spanish. There you go. So, we're going to cover all languages.